Hello everybody and welcome back to a new marvelous video. Today we're talking about Japanese urban legends. Now I don't know about you, but this is one of my absolute favorite topics to talk about and to make videos about. It is genuinely interesting to me, and for some reason I managed to believe some of them and think that some of them do have some sort of truth to them, although these ones that I have in this video are just so crazy that I don't even think that they can have any truth to them, because to be honest, they are so out there, so freaking crazy that they just don't make sense for me. I think one of them in particular has this apparently true story of a family that's essentially been proven to be true. So the whole story happened, but then the afterwards events are just not well documented for us to know if what happened still continues to go on and happen again, but from other dimensions, possibly. You'll know what I'm talking about when we get into the video, into that part of the story, but for now, if you're ready, buckle in and let's get started. So Japan in the Edo period had this very famous game that is called this. Now, some of these I will not be able to pronounce the names of because I am obviously not Japanese, which I don't mean any harm or disrespect, by the way. I will try my absolute best to pronounce them, but if I couldn't, there you go, and I'll tell you the translation. So essentially, this translates into 100 supernatural tales, where a bunch of people essentially circulate around 100 candles telling scary stories, and with every single scary story they blow out one candle. Often this game ends with a single candle being lit and everybody being scared to blow out the last candle because they're scared of staying in the dark, because they think that blowing out that last candle would result in unleashing the dark spirits or whatever they had brought forward. So essentially, these are some of the stories or folklores that were told in this game. So the first one we are talking about is the no mask. Now I can say this one because it's easy to say, but essentially these are the Japanese traditional masks that were used in theater. These are unsettling for a number of different reasons, mainly because they change expressions when you look at them from a different lighting and a different angle. So every different angle makes you see another face, and the lighting could make you see another face too. So some people believe that these masks hold a negative energy, if you will, some aura to them, some power to them that allows them to affect our bodies in a negative way. And these negative ways are basically put into three ways that they can essentially take over you. So they are known to feed off of people's energy. So they feed off of the wearer's energy. So if you wear them, they feed off of your energy until you just don't have any left, and then they have essentially full control of your body. So they get to do whatever they want, and sometimes whatever they want is committing heinous acts or crimes. So that's what they end up doing. A second different way is that wearing one for too long will cause the mask to essentially suck your soul out. It will fully eat you out from the inside out, that in a way that you'll never even realize until you're a corpse essentially. And then it will take your body in pursuit of another victim. So maybe don't wear one for too long. The third one, if you happen to wear one for too long and it does have full control of your So it will end up trapping it in a different dimension that is filled with pain, suffering, and sorrow. So essentially, the moral of the story: do not wear these masks for too long. Now, I just want to preface this is only an urban legend. I am not saying, this is not me saying that the Japanese traditional masks are evil. I'm not saying that. This is just the urban legend. And I hope I'm not offending anybody by saying the urban legend. The second one we're talking about is the Himuro Mansion. Now, I can say this one too because it's relatively easy. Essentially, Himuro is the last name of the family we're talking about right now. Unfortunately, this mansion is known for something very gruesome, which was the most gruesome murder of modern Japanese history. So essentially, the legend goes that the Himuro family believed that this mansion of theirs had a portal that opened every 50 years, bringing in bad luck and bad karma to the family, right? And so in attempt to keep this portal closed and to stop the bad karma from getting to them, they resorted to rituals. And these rituals are very, very, very gruesome. If you cannot handle the gruesome details I'm gonna tell you, I really hope you skip forward a little bit, because this is not for the faint of heart, like seriously. So although this ritual was in attempt to save the whole entire family, they did end up sacrificing one of their own every 50 years. However, this one of their own is very particularly picked. So the master of the family, which is oftentimes either the grandpa or the father, ends up assigning one child at birth, and that child has to be a girl. So he assigned this girl to be isolated and fully just stopped from making connections or ties with other human beings, because they believe that feelings, emotional ties to other human beings destroy your blood or jeopardize the ritual. So they end up isolating this girl for 50 years, essentially, give or take, until they have to do the ritual again. So they tie this girl from her neck, wrists, and ankle, and the other half of the rope is tied to teams of horses, which are ordered to rip her apart into 3/4, basically. The ropes that were used were then soaked in her blood, and then eventually, after all of this, laid where they thought the portal was. So they take these ropes and lay them where they thought this portal is, and it is supposed to close down the portal and close it down, but not like forever. It's essentially for the next 50 years, and supposedly this portal will reopen after 50 years. Tell me how that makes sense. I'm sorry, like this is a total side note, but how does that make sense? Like in any circumstances? I don't know. Maybe I don't like to assume seriously that anybody is just making things up or is mentally ill until I have like solid proof to think that they are. But this right here just sounds so crazy that I'm like, someone had to have objected to something, right? It is unbelievable that every single part of the family, every single member of that family just went on with sacrificing a child of their own. It's one of their own. They're not kidnapping this girl and killing her. No, it's their own. They've raised her so long and they've put so much effort into isolating her, and then eventually end up killing her and sacrificing her to a portal that exists on their grounds. I feel like I would be so scared, because I believe in trapped souls, and that right there could create a trapped soul. Anyways, that was a whole tangent. Let's go on with the story. So during the last ritual that was performed in this mansion, the girl that was supposed to be isolated for the 50 years ended up falling in love with someone that was trying to rescue her from getting ripped into 3 pieces. So they believed at this connection with another human being that her blood and spirit were tainted, which will ultimately jeopardize the ritual. So the master of the family ended up taking his sword and killing every single one of his family members in fear of this bad karma and this portal opening and unleashing its bad negative energy into the mansion. And then after all of this, he ended up killing himself too, for the same reason. He was scared himself that this bad karma and bad spirits are gonna affect him and take revenge out of him, pretty much. So since then, it is said that the family members still roam around the abandoned building looking for any unsuspecting victim to finish essentially what they started, to make up for the failed ritual. The locals report seeing fresh splashes of blood on the walls, although there has not been anybody in years in that mansion, which makes me think, where do they come from? Like, this doesn't make sense, does it? Like, fresh splashes of blood, almost like it just happened, or it is in a loop and it's happening again and again. And by it, I mean the murders, the master killing all of the family members. It is just a gruesome, very gruesome story that makes me think a lot about a lot of different things, and I don't like it. So, to get a change of heart, let's talk about this one. I forgot how to pronounce this, so I'm just not going to. But essentially, it comes from the onomatopoeia of footsteps, apparently. This urban legend is known more as footsteps following the people that walk around at night alone. It is recognized by just that, just hearing a pair of footsteps other than yours getting closer and closer to you. However, other than that, it is known to be pretty much harmless. You can also just dismiss it and ask it to go away, and it will, apparently. You just step aside and saying, "After you, Beto Beto son," and you should hear footsteps continuing on along the path, and you may continue on in peace after you no longer can hear the footsteps. The next one we're talking about is white string. Now, this urban legend was apparently created to essentially scare teenagers away from getting piercings. Now, this is not really scary. This is just more like a very, very interesting one. So the story goes, there was this little girl that wanted really badly to get her ear pierced. However, her parents were reluctant, so they kept saying no until after a bit of nagging, they agreed and gave her some money to go to the local mall and get her ear pierced. However, she got greedy and she wanted to keep the money, so she showed up at her friend's house and essentially asked the friend to do the piercing herself. So they took these big needles, heated them up, and pierced her ears, and it worked. It worked for a while. So for a few days, it was all good, nothing was wrong, and then a couple days later, she felt this very sharp and intense pain in her ear, jabbing at it. So she played with it and scratched it away, okay? And then she went to the toilet to go check it out and have a look at the mirror. So she did. And she noticed this white string coming out of her earlobe, essentially. So without even thinking about it, she started playing with it and scratching it and pulling it. And the more she pulled, the more it was a never-ending white string. So after a while, she got agitated at the white string because it wouldn't stop. So she pulled out a pair of scissors out of her backpack and cut out this white string. Now immediately everything just went dark. She could not see anymore, but feel this very intense pain in her ear and her eyes. So she screamed, and soon enough she found herself in the emergency room telling the doctor or the healthcare professional about what happened, about her finding a white string and then cutting it, right? So there was this very shocked look on the doctor's face, and he essentially broke the news to her that she will likely never see again because she just severed an optic nerve of hers, which was apparently very important. Now, the story is a little bit more lighthearted because you can tell that it's meant for kids. Like, what adult is gonna believe that your optic nerve is coming out of your earlobe? That just doesn't happen. And so it is just made up to scare kids from getting piercings. Now, the next one we're talking about is this right here. I again forgot how to pronounce this. So essentially, it's a tree that grows in places where there was a lot of bloodshed. So war zones and stuff like that. It is a tree that feeds off of human blood. So it waits around for any unsuspecting victim to come very close, and then it snatches it with its branches and essentially stabs it with one of the needles or branches, I'm guessing, and then sucks away all of the blood that is inside of the body. And I'm talking all of it until the body is completely dry, and then it leaves it for the rest of the animals to eat away the flesh and the organs and the skin. So all that there is left of this human being is the bones and the teeth. The bones act as soil fertilizers, so they are the telltale signs of this tree right here. It is also said that if you cut this tree open, fresh human blood comes out of it. That was it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. If you've enjoyed it, tell me in the comment section down below, and maybe throw me a like while you're at it, and subscribe if you want to, and I'll see you in my next one. Goodbye.